Have you ever finished streaming a movie late at night, turned off your TV, and just sat there in the dark room in complete silence? No checking your social media. No turning on the lights. Just sitting on your couch staring at a pitch-black screen because your brain is completely frozen by what you just watched. That is exactly what happened to me last night. I am telling you right now, this movie changes the entire landscape of modern horror and independent thrillers. We are dealing with a film that did not have a $100 million studio budget. It did not rely on flashy Hollywood special effects. It had something far more dangerous, a concept that crawls directly under your skin and refuses to leave. If you have seen the trailer online or read the basic genre tags, you might think you know exactly what kind of story you are clicking on. You might tell yourself, oh, I have streamed dozens of psychological thrillers like this before. Trust me when I tell you, you have absolutely no idea. The psychological weight of this film hits you from the very first minute. It does not give you time to adjust or get comfortable. The atmosphere is immediately heavy. It changes the entire energy of the room you are sitting in, and by the middle of the film, you will notice that the air in your house feels totally different. What completely blew me away was how the director builds extreme discomfort out of completely normal situations. There are no cheap jump scares. There are no loud, fake noises designed to make you drop your laptop or phone. It is all about a deep, structural feeling. It is that specific, terrible feeling that something is profoundly wrong with a situation, but you cannot quite find the words for it yet. You are just watching everyday human interactions, but your heart rate is steadily going up. I found myself leaning entirely forward, my eyes glued to the screen, trying to figure out how a filmmaker could make a simple conversation feel so intensely terrifying. The dread doesn't come from monsters or typical movie villains. It comes from human choices. It comes from the hidden, dark corners of the human mind that most of us are too scared to think about. And that is why watching it at home makes it even worse. It takes things that feel normal, things that feel relatable, and it twists them just enough until they feel completely dangerous. Before we get into how the incredible acting and the mind-blowing audio design left me completely speechless, let me officially welcome you back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome to MMU Reviews. This is your go-to spot where we break down the biggest cinematic releases, the hidden streaming gems, and the psychological thrillers that keep you awake at 2 a.m. We do it all with zero corporate filter, completely honest personal opinions, and easy, everyday language so we can just talk about movies like real friends. If you love deep dive reviews, unfiltered reactions, and staying completely spoiler-free so your viewing experience is never ruined, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. You are watching MMU Reviews, and today we are breaking down the 2026 global psychological phenomenon that has absolutely everyone talking online obsession. Now, let's get right back into the breakdown. Let's talk about the acting performances, because a movie with a concept this heavy completely falls apart if the actors do not deliver. When the credits finally started scrolling on my screen, the first thing I wanted to do was just applaud the cast. The lead actors carry an emotional weight that looks genuinely exhausting to pull off. You can see the shift in their eyes. You can see the change in their entire body language as the runtime moves forward. There are long moments in this film where an actor is just standing completely still, not saying a single word of dialogue, and yet their face communicates pure, absolute dread. That is masterclass acting. As I sat there watching the main characters interact, my personal reaction was a mix of intense empathy and total panic. You want to shout at your screen. You want to reach inside your monitor, grab them, and pull them out of the situation entirely. The chemistry and the friction between the characters are incredibly fascinating to study. It starts in a place that feels very grounded, very everyday, and very easy to understand. But as the psychological elements begin to tighten like a rope, the performances shift into something so intense that it becomes physically hard to look away from your screen. The dialogue feels incredibly natural. Nobody sounds like they are reading lines written by a Hollywood committee. They sound like real people dealing with an unreal amount of psychological pressure. And we absolutely have to talk about the sound design, because it is brilliant. If you are watching this online at home, you absolutely must put on a good pair of headphones or turn up your sound system. Do not watch this on low volume. The silence in this movie speaks louder than an action movie explosion. The filmmakers know exactly when to cut the background score completely. When the sound drops out, all you hear is a heavy breath, a minor movement, or a clock ticking in the background. It makes you feel entirely trapped in the room with them. The audio completely wraps around your head and forces you to feel the exact isolation and panic that the characters are experiencing. It is a brilliant example of how to use simple sound to control human emotions. Let's get into how this affected me physically while I was streaming it. I watch hundreds of horror movies, thrillers, and mysteries every single year for this channel. I am usually very hard to rattle, and I can usually predict plot twists from a mile away. But with Obsession, about halfway through the runtime, I suddenly realized my shoulders were completely tense. I was holding my breath during scenes where absolutely nothing violent was even happening on screen. That is the true power of great psychological writing. The movie constantly plays with your expectations. It sets up a path where your brain thinks, okay, I know exactly where this is going, I know how this ends, and then it smoothly steps in a completely different direction. It never cheats the viewer. It doesn't throw random things at you just to shock you for a second. Every single emotional reaction felt completely earned by the story. The pacing is a brilliant slow burn, but it never feels slow or boring for a single second. It feels like an avalanche. It starts with a tiny, microscopic movement at the top of the mountain, and before you even realize what is happening, this massive wall of emotional tension is rushing straight down at you, and there is nowhere to hide. I was so locked into my screen that I completely forgot to look at my phone or check my notifications. You just wind up frozen, waiting to see how this psychological knot is eventually going to untangle. It makes you question human nature. It makes you turn off your device and think deeply about your own life, your own focus, and what happens when normal human desires turn into something unhealthy. It stays in your mind. It is the exact type of film that you immediately want to text your friends about the moment it ends, just so you can debate the choices, analyze the expressions, and rewatch it to find all the subtle clues the director hid in plain sight. So, what is the ultimate verdict on Obsession? It is an absolute triumph for independent filmmaking and a massive win for everyone watching it digitally. It proves perfectly that you do not need hundreds of millions of dollars to make a cinematic masterpiece. You just need a brilliant script, incredible direction, and actors who are willing to give absolutely everything to their characters. It is tense, it is deeply unsettling, and it is easily one of the most memorable viewing experiences of 2026. For the final rating, I am giving this movie a solid 8 out of 10. It is an incredibly strong, high-tier psychological thriller that hits every single mark it aims for. The only reason it is not a perfect 10 is because the experience is so intense that it might be hard for some people to hit replay and watch it a second time right away. But for a first-time viewing, it is an absolute must-watch on your screen. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on MMU Reviews. Don't forget to drop your personal thoughts in the comments down below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this completely spoiler-free breakdown, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe, stay curious, and keep watching great movies.